Oh, sure. Like if she speaks to her friend, one of her, oh, you must divorce him and put him in his place. You can't do that with certain people. You can't do that. They'll throw the toys out their cot. They'll just go crazy at you. I can't speak to my father about my disappointments with him or whatever it is, or my brother. I tried to the other day. I said to my brother, he was causing a whole lot of trouble, and I said to him, look, and whatever, he put the phone down on me. He hasn't spoken to me properly for like the last 4 months. That's what happens when you try and point out to people their unconscious behavior or their thoughtless behavior or their selfish behavior or something like that. They don't want to know it. They don't want to see it. It's like talking to somebody when they're drunk and you're telling them, and they, you can't drive, you're drunk. And they say, to hell with you. I can drive, I'm fine. And it's like, and then they start a fight for nothing. You try and tell the person, you've had enough to drink. Don't tell me what to do. I'm not drunk. And clearly they're so intoxicated. But there's no point talking to a drunken person about anything that's serious. They can't. They're out of their mind, man. And so that's what it's like when talking to people. Anyway, so my mother, she'll say to me, just out of the blue, she's, I feel so bad talking about he's my husband. She feels so bad talking about her husband. And I'm like, well, then also you're my son, so I shouldn't be talking to you about it. So, okay, Ma, who else are you going to talk to? Who else you got? You got nobody. You got nobody. Okay, great. So because you're going to so you'd rather so-called respect your husband than talk about your actual experience. Talk about your what you're going through, your heartache, your exhaustion, your frustration. That's great, Ma. So just never talk about it. And that's what people do. They don't talk about things. They talk about it sometimes to their therapist that they pay a fortune to. And most of the therapists just want to put you on, psychiatry, antipsychotics or something like that a lot of the time. They're not able to, they want to give you a quick fix. So-called in that way. Or people go to the New Age movement or something like that and, oh, no, they're, whatever it is, just be mindful. It's like, no, guys, no. That's why a relationship amongst human beings is so important. That's why we need to be sharing. That's also what I do with my channel. I share a lot of my frustrations and I feel better. I share a lot about my loneliness and then I feel a little bit better. We're sharing our experience and we're being emotionally honest. This person in my life, this lady, she feels to share with me what I can see what's going on. I can see what's going on. In her life, I can see, but she won't talk about it because it makes her vulnerable. I can see the weight on her shoulders. I can see the responsibility and how she's not managing. And also she doesn't want to come across as not being seen as perfect, or that she's making mistakes, or she doesn't know how to do something. That creates the vulnerability. And then if you're vulnerable for her is to be seen as, it's like in prison. If you show vulnerability in prison, oh man, you'll be in trouble. They'll take you out. You got to come in guns blazing, as they say, first day of prison, beat up the biggest guy that you can find, and then hopefully everyone will leave you alone. You show vulnerability and you'll be somebody's bitch. So in this world that we're living in, vulnerability is seen as weakness. Emotional honesty is seen as weakness. I am having a hard time. I am feeling challenged. I am feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling nervous. I feel ashamed. I feel embarrassed. I feel like a failure. I can't handle things. I don't trust myself. I don't trust other people. I dislike myself. I don't like my own company and being on my own quietly. I can't sit by myself. I feel that people are talking about me. I have incredible self-doubt, that I sabotage things, that I procrastinate things. And not that I have a doubt or fear, but I do it. And it's embarrassing. I have an eating disorder. That's embarrassing. People don't want to say it, want to talk about it. I feel insecure. Don't want to talk about it. People don't want to admit it to themselves. They don't want to embrace themselves. They've abandoned themselves. They've abandoned their pain. They've abandoned their pain. And then again, this is what I find in the New Age community or in the spiritual community. This stuff is not spoken about. It's just about the path to enlightenment. Or, I don't know. And you some kind of spiritual human being that doesn't walk on the earth. You only walk on water. You don't walk on the earth. It's from a quote. Now, the miracle is not to walk on water, but to walk on the earth. To walk on the ground. But spiritual people, I only walk on water. Look at me, everybody. And it's not just spiritual people, but it's so many other people. We're running amok here. That's how consumerism works. That's how, there's so many options of cars available and so many different options of cell phones available. And all of these devices to try and make us feel better about ourselves and to hide away the shame, the insecurities, the inadequacies. Bodybuilders will take steroids and shorten their lifespan by half. And they don't care. They don't care. Just as long as they look big. Just as long as they look like, don't mess with me. Why? Because I'm sure they had an alcoholic father. Or an abusive mother, or an abusive brother, or like an uncle. And then they felt very insecure and they felt very small. So it's like, okay, fine. I don't know which psychologist said that a lot of people who do, they put on a lot of body weight. It's kind of like body armor to protect themselves because they were abused as a child when they grew up. But we won't talk about that. We won't really talk about that. We'll just talk about being mindful. Just be mindful of what you eat. As if that's going to be good enough. If that's really going to work. Maybe to a degree, maybe for like a day or two, maybe even a week. Just be mindful of what you put in your mouth and write out a diet. Okay, fine, but it's an intellectual thing. What about emotional? What about when the emotions start coming up of frustration? What happens when the emotions of helplessness come up because in your own life there's something going on and you don't have the confidence and you're not wanting to ask people for help, or there's no one to ask for help. So you need to self-soothe and empower yourself. And how do you do that? Is by pleasuring yourself, is by eating. A porn addiction. People don't want to talk about it. So well, why do you watch porn? And it's okay, watch porn, that's fine. But I mean, to the degree that, you're watching it every single day and that you're addicted to it. The first thing of becoming an addict is that the first thing that you got to do is admit that you're an addict. Admit that you have a problem. And we all have problems that we are not willing to share with one another. But here's the problem, is that there's barely anybody to really share it with. If you have somebody in your life to share it with, then you're very fortunate. But most of the time you don't have anyone to share with it because people are not, they haven't worked on themselves enough to be a receiver, to stand in your shoes with you, to feel what you're going through. They haven't. They don't know. They haven't worked on themselves. It's like, I don't know, taking a laptop, or a car that needs to be fixed up. I don't know, you got a broken gearbox and taking it to somebody who's a plumber. And they say, I have no idea how to put this gearbox. I don't know how to fix this car. This is not what I'm good at. It's not my strength. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. And that's it. When you go to people with with emotional honesty and your pain, and be like, look, dude, I don't know what to tell you. Let's have a Coke and a smile. Type of thing, and then things will be better. Let's go out and party. Let's go out and, I don't know, get drunk and just forget about it all. They don't know how to do it. They don't, so you don't have the luxury. Most people don't even have the luxury because most of the people are not good listeners. They don't know how to be present. They're off being mindful all the time of everything. That's it. Like when I've met these gurus and I've gone to these Zen dens and I've gone to these spiritual places and these temples over the years, and I've sat with these people, I've just felt so alone. I felt so empty. It's like, just focus on your breath. Focus on my effing breath. Like, honestly. That's going to work. It might calm me down for a minute, but then again, the frustrations are going to come up, the pain is going to come up, the fears are going to come up. And that's why there's so much to it. We're not prepared enough. We to deal with our psychology, with our emotional state, with our actual healing. We're not mature enough. We don't know how to do it. The self-help, the new age, the spiritual side of things, the Eastern teachings, whatever it might be, are not adequate enough. Full stop. Eckhart Tolle is not qualified enough. Deepak Chopra is not qualified enough. Majority of people in this position, I don't know, Joe Dispenza, the people, I forget these names because I'm terrible with names. They are not qualified. Not because they're not a psychologist or something like that, because they themselves are completely void. You can see it in their own being. Neil Donald Walsh, who apparently has these conversations with God. But yet these are not people that I would feel comfortable sitting. Muji, can you imagine you sit with Muji in front of everybody, and I've seen it, in front of the whole audience, and then he embarrasses you. He embarrasses you because you're just there, but you just can't get it. You can't relinquish, you can't let go of the ego. What's the ego, Muji? What the hell is the ego? These are terms that we use, they're fantasy. We have to use terms because we're going to take a stab at it. But what the hell is ego? What the hell is shadow? We don't know these terms. But you know what we know what is? We know what frustration is. We know what it feels like to be frustrated. We know what it's like to be ashamed. We know these feelings because we're feeling them all the time. But we just disown them all the time. We know what it feels to have self-doubt. We know what it feels like to not have confidence. We know this. But let's talk about the ego, guys. And let's talk about killing the ego, or whatever it is. Or even working with the ego. Say, really? Oh, good luck. Go work with Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny. See how well you do. See how well you fare. We're grappling. We honestly, we are not prepared. We are so misguided. We are so ill-equipped because we've made a whole big hullabaloo out of the simplest of things. The human experience, the human drama, the human emotional state, the feelings that you have towards yourself, the feelings that you have to, that's it. Let's just leave it at that for now. Let's leave it at that for now. Be mindful. Oh, but I hate myself. But be mindful that you hate yourself. Okay. Well, why do you hate yourself? Well, that's thought. So if you're lost in thought already, that's an idea. That's a story that you're telling yourself. So just remove that intellectually. Just numb out. Watch your breath for 5 hours every day. And then you'll get an insight into why you hate yourself. Really? You're going the wrong way about it. What commitment are you really making? What intention are you doing? What you're trying to do is just still the frickin' mind. What you're just trying to do is be enveloped in the present moment. That's all you're trying to be. You're so bloody obsessed with this present moment as a fantasy for it's the what's that thing? I don't know how to say it. The elixir or something like that. It is the be-all and end-all. It is all that there ever will be and all that there ever is. And don't worry, guys. You're an infinite being. You're an infinite being. And I'm guilty of this myself. And your time too will pass and you will, and all will fade. And so, but right now, to honor the actual moment, what is the actual moment? Deep frustration, deep fear, deep shame. For me, when I upload a video and I get nervous to see how many people watched my last video. Did anyone leave a nasty comment and be like, dude, don't quit your day job? And then I get offended by that. On some days I'll get offended by that. On other days I won't get offended by that. Why? Because I'm not the same person every single day. I try and be, but try and be consistent. Forget about it. You must try, but you're not going to be consistent all the time. It takes, like playing the guitar, it'll take a hell of a lot of time, long year, or learning a language. It probably even takes longer to learn a language than it does to play an instrument. It takes a hell of a long time to even get an inkling and an idea about who you are and to build a relationship and a trust with who you are. An inkling of it. And you're not going to be consistent. You have to fight tooth and nail for it, blood, sweat and tears for it, to have a little bit of consistency. So when I'm talking to people, it's no doubt, I meet my father, he's one person one day, the next person he's a stranger to me. Just people's mood swings all the time because their emotions are emotions are waves, guys, and they'll come and they'll go. So just, invite them in as, who was it, Rumi, and, like they guessed, and then they'll be on their way. Oh my word. Do you know the difference between you and your emotions? Can you distinguish between your true self, if you want to call it that, your authentic self, and your emotions? Or your thoughts? Can you identify with your essence of who you really are? Because we talk about it all the time. Well, you're not your emotions, you're not your thoughts. You're an infinite being. Okay, so where is my emotions? How do I want to talk to my infinite being? I want to have a relationship with my infinite being, with my soul. But I'm feeling this. Oh, but feeling is emotion, and I'm thinking this. Oh, but thinking is a thought. These are just apparatuses or whatever it is. These are just devices or whatever. Who I really am. Okay, so who is that, buddy? Nestled in your narrative, nestled in your nationality, nestled in your culture and your language, and rooted, your childhood trauma rooted so deeply into your psyche, so deeply into your coping, so deeply that you don't yet know who the hell you are. Well, you got infinite potential. What the hell does that mean? Infinite being, infinite potential. Oh, it sounds great. You're not your thoughts, you're not your emotions, you are an infinite being. And life is a spiritual journey and that you are on, and it's an adventure and all of these things. And it's all love and light, guys. We don't even touch the surface.
Isn't it amazing how mind touch? Sometimes, there's so much to do to find the truth. It's not for people like you. It's not your time. It's time to enjoy the world and so on. There's so much to do. There's so much to learn. But I say no. If an urge arises inside you to find the truth, He's already calling you from within. And it's not far. And just sit by yourself. And pick up no thought or any intention or anything from time, past, present, or future. Simply be empty. And He will present Himself in you as pure presence. Yeah. Start here and put an end to your trouble.
We don't even touch the surface. We're walking around with so much childhood shame, that was banged into us from our culture and from our parents and everything else, because you were never good enough. You weren't given unconditional love. You felt that you were here on probation. Or not probation, but when you go for a job and what do you call it? And they monitor you for a month, and then we'll decide whether you'll keep the job or not. That's how you grew up. That's how all of us grew up. Don't get it wrong. We have no idea. We can't even remember the damage that was caused in our childhood and our upbringing up till the age of 7, 8 years older than other events of trauma that have happened. We have no idea. We're not connected to it at all. So I'm not going, okay, go back and relive the memory. Go live back and relive what is the emotion that's coming up for you? What is the experience, the full, let's not call it an emotion, let's not call it a thought, let's just say the actual experience that you are going through, the totality, with the thoughts, with the emotions, with everything. What are you feeling, soldier? What are you feeling, human being? What is going on for you? Talk about it. Share it. Own it. Yes, there's breath work, there's dancing, there's movement, there's all of these things that definitely do help. Shake it off, shake it off, shake it off. But how do we get to the very essence? Because in the meantime, most of what our essence is just trauma. It's just coping mechanism, it's just persona. We don't know who we are. Again, I think for myself, when I talk about the soul or the self, it's a feeling, it's a constant feeling that we've had our whole lives about ourselves. But again, it's very limiting that, because right now as I'm talking, I know the sound of my voice. But my spirit and soul doesn't have a physical voice. It doesn't have a voice box. It doesn't have a tongue that moves and talks in words and vibrations and whatever it is. It doesn't have, a male sounding voice. But that's the association that I have that I'm working with. That's why when you take a psychedelic, which is very much needed and very much necessary, when you take a psychedelic, all of a sudden your voice doesn't sound like you anymore. For example, one of the things. All boundaries dissolve. All of the boundaries dissolve. So your voice doesn't sound like you. You feel like, everything is phantom. Your limbs are phantom. Your body is phantom. You don't know where you begin and the world ends, or, where your skin ends, or whatever it is. It's all just an immersion of experience, or whatever it is, of all totality, and you just get lost in there, and you're like, oh, flying through space, spinning through space, not as Aaron with hands and feet and and eyebrows and eyelashes and whatever male genitals. It's just this, whatever this essence is, you want to call it, hurtling through space, unidentifiable to anything relatable to this current experience of me sitting in this car right now on a Saturday afternoon. I'm pretty hungry, hearing the sound of my own voice. My glasses are sat on so they skew. I've been trying to fix them while I'm talking here. They aren't coming right. Sitting in the car in Durban in 2024, I think it's the 16th of June. I'm going to be 43 on the 1st of July. In the whole narrative, I've got 3 older brothers. I've got 1 younger sister. My parents got divorced when I was 16. They both remarried. I got, 12 nieces and nephews. And all of the story, all of the narrative. I'm South African. I grew up just at the end of apartheid in a way, so I'm seen as a white guy. I was brought up Jewish. I went to Jewish schools. But I don't practice Jewish, but when I meet some people, they'll see me as Jewish and they identify me as Jewish and whatever it is, or they identify me with the car I drive or the house that I live in or the way that I'm dressed. All identification, all immersed. But we think we know who we are. Just by the self-confidence, the delusion of saying, no, I know who I am. I've been working on... It's true, it has been working on yourself. If you've been really working on yourself, how have you been working on yourself? Tell me. Tell me how. And there's many ways that one can work on themselves. I'm not saying that it's just, well, we don't know who we are, so then don't even bother. What I'm saying is that don't be so proud. And I'm guilty of this. Don't be so self-assured. Hope for the best and do the best and try and be as brutally, as emotionally honest as you can be and as sincere as you can be, because there's parts of you that don't want to be sincere, that are afraid of being sincere, and be vulnerable. And I don't know what the method is. I don't think there's a method, because every person takes a different task. Every person takes a different journey, takes a different road. It's not only one size fits all. It's not only your Oprah Winfrey style and her self-help section and Wayne Dyer. Oh. you know. So it's not, and there's just so much to be said. There's so much to be said. But we are so children, we have no idea in the sense of the higher work, what we're a part of. We really have no idea. We really do not know the magnitude of the universe, the magnitude of God's existence, whatever God might be or may not be. But the idea that you can't have God as being everything or nothing. It can't be one or the other. It's either everything or it's nothing. Even the concept of God. And then we come along and then we sow an empty vessel filled with shame, as it says on the Yom Kippur, the Day of Judgment, on the day of fast in the Jewish calendar. It's the Day of Repentance, and there's a saying there that says, I'm an empty vessel filled with shame. You know? What was I saying? Yeah, and that's what you are, or that we what was I saying just about, but to understand that you are an empty vessel filled with shame, but that God loves you, and that the audacity that you have, and you must have it, this is how crazy it is, this is how bizarre it is, this is how whacked out it is, and this is where I'm going to finish off, because I can see myself just going all over the show here, which is all necessary, but another time. Because isn't it exciting? Isn't it a discovery? Isn't it layered and layered and layered with potential? It's not just sitting there and being mindful and doing some kind of Sufi dance or something like that. It's so much more. It's so much more riveting. Exactly what Terence McKenna says. You don't walk into the ashram with your knees knocking together, but when you take a psychedelic, you shit yourself, and it changes you. Again, he says you work in the ashram for like 10 years, you're cleaning up, and then after like say 3 years, they lay on a whammy of like, wow, that I didn't see that one coming, or like a real incredible insight on something or other, or some funny koan, is that how you say it? That doesn't make any sense, or whatever it is, unrelatable. So at the same time, we know so little, we're trying our best, and you must try our best. And the most important thing is to honor your emotional experience, to honor your experience, give it meaning. This is what I learned from somebody else, because life is a lot of it is meaningless, and you got to give it meaning. If it was chock full with its own meaning, then you wouldn't really have a job to do. But you got to give it and subscribe to it your own meaning, because that's how powerful you are in your own realm of existence. And you are so powerful in that way that I do believe that if you do pray, you are heard by God, perhaps. Isn't that the most craziest, obscene, like self-deluded way of thinking? Pray for the healing of somebody else, or for yourself, or for your animal, or your pet, or your whatever it might be. And it happens. Sometimes it happens because it's just going to happen, but sometimes that God stepped in, or the angel, something stepped in. And little old you, an empty vessel filled with shame, all of this kind of stuff, right? And you call upon a divine higher being, and your needs are met. Not all the time, I don't know how it works. You go from zero to hero like that. Yeah, so, that's sorry, I don't know if he sees me, but this guy next to me, I don't want to be rude. Yeah, he stays on the property as well. But let me tell you, at times I do. I don't hold the faith. I don't have the hope. I feel like, why should I even pray? I do. I feel like, God can see my situation. He can see how unfavorable it is, And then the idea, well, it's got to be harsh, because I also took this from somebody else. And I've heard this before, like if you are playing, and if you are very good at, let's say, chess, or like you're playing a computer game, a TV game, whatever it is, that it has to be quite hard, because the more you upgrade to higher levels, the tougher it is, the tougher it gets, because you've developed skill and ability, and that needs to be tested at other levels. So when I look at my life and I'm like, no, this is senseless, this is just ridiculous, this is just like, a raw deal. And I lose the hope, I lose the faith, and I'm completely disconnected. I'm completely immersed in the matrix. I'm completely immersed in my own self-doubt, in my own shame. I think to myself, you know what? I'm deleting all my videos. I'm never uploading another video again. You know why? Because I've got nothing to say. That's how I feel at times. I'm just being honest. That's how I feel. I don't always act upon it, but of course I do. Of course I do. Thinking now, oh, people don't have better things to do than listening to you, Aaron. You don't think I think that? You don't think I feel insecure about the length of my videos? And part of it is true. They don't have better things to do, but they're not interested. They're not interested. This is not popular. If I was speaking on a more new agey, neo-advaita, spiritual, manifest, the whole shtick. If I was talking like that, then I would have 3,000 views. I would be very uncomfortable with 3,000 views either way. If I went, just check out that Next Level Soul podcast. Just check out the people that go on there. Check how many views it gets per video. See the comments that people write. See what shenanigan it is. Just see what it's rubbish it really is. And there's that guy, and I'll do a whole talk on the Next Level podcast, because I watched it I've watched a few of them, but I just see the whole thing, and it's such a scam. And this guy, I forget his name, but whatever. Name and shame, man. Name and shame. Call out the people that are pretending, to be doing the work and representing the work, like these channelers and these prophets, and it's ridiculous. I don't know how many. He's got videos like the top 10, psychics in the UK, and they're all talking about 2024. Even go back 2020, and they all had something different to say, and none of it came true. But then he'll still interview them, still have interviews with them, and we'll ignore that. Scam artists, inauthentic. How many of them? Anyways, I'm getting carried away. So I'm just talking about my own self-doubt and my own opinion on things. And it's scary to have my own opinion on things and to see the way the way that I see it. I do. I don't have confidence. That's why I'm saying if I had 3,000 views on one of my videos, I would freak the hell out. Not out of excitement, just out of sheer, I feel so exposed. I don't know. I just feel I don't know what it is about it, but I'd feel so uncomfortable about it. I wouldn't even feel that I deserve it. To be honest, I wouldn't even feel that I deserve it. I would feel that somehow, in some way, I'm just deluding myself and embarrassing myself. And that's what I'm dealing with constantly, every day. That and skew glasses that I can't get straight. It's so annoying. And I don't have another pair, so this is it. So I'm wearing them tilt, on an angle, and it's not great. Anyways, let me get going. Thanks for making it this far. Yeah, I'm tongue-in-cheek, I'm cynical. So much more to be said. Take care. Yeah, I'll just give you one example before I end if I'm still sitting in the car. So I'm doing these recordings on my phone. And let's say, for example, some time passes and I don't put it on my laptop, and then by mistake somehow the recordings get deleted before I've backed them up or even uploaded them to YouTube or something like that. And I'll be like, there will be a part of me will be like, what's the difference? We weren't really saying anything important. I'm serious. That's what happens to me. I'm often have a fear of my phone getting stolen. I live in a country where one of the highest crime rates in the world, and that happens all the time, or just losing my phone or something like that. And I think, and then also I'll read into it and say, well, maybe I wasn't supposed to upload those videos. That's a whole another angle as well. We kind of assume why things go certain ways, and sometimes we just don't know. Sometimes we do know, but sometimes we don't know. But nonetheless, what I'm saying is that, even if something happened to the recordings, even though I've spoken for 40 minutes, and it's been great for me and it's helpful for me, but I think at the same time, whatever, the world there's been no loss, in that way. There's been nothing, it's not a tremendous tragedy if my channel gets deleted. So what, or something like that. I don't take myself seriously. I don't see what I do, because again, when I grew up with my brother, I honestly felt that my only mission in life was to turn off dripping taps. I've said this before. That's the shame that I carry. I felt that I had no purpose. I remember when I first started journaling, the very first time, I think I was like 28 years old. And the very first thing I wrote was that you're wasting your time. You should be doing something different than this. You should be working at a job, or you should be doing something that brings in money, or just you shouldn't be doing this because it's a waste of time. Nobody cares what you have to say, even yourself. Nobody cares what you're feeling, even yourself. You have no relevance, you have no importance, you have no value, you have no significance. You're just like, somebody's thrown away gum. You got stuck on the bottom of somebody's shoe. That's it. That's what I contend with. That's what I still live with daily. Some days it's not so bad, other days it is that bad. But that's what I do, and I'll probably be there for the rest of my life. And that's just the way it goes. That's the way it goes. But I got to prove that wrong. I got to prove that sensation, or that identity, or the way that I see myself, or the attitude that I have myself, or the feeling, whatever it is, the perception that I have of myself. I got to prove it wrong in my actions every day by doing things, by going out of my comfort zones, by being vulnerable, by offering myself, by taking care of myself, by taking my videos seriously, taking my life seriously, my day seriously, even though it doesn't conform to the normal, Joneses next door, whatever it is, or my parents had in mind. And, even though, all of those things. And I have to, every day, it's an effort of taking care of myself to prove this part of me, which is not, which is kind of the ego, wrong. Now, where do you hear people talking about that nowadays? You know what they're talking about? Once again, be mindful and in the present moment and watch your breath. That's it. And you're good to go. All right, take care.